As you guys know, the judges appointed on the Supreme Court in the United States are appointed for life. And they have a powerful role to play in America's democracy. One of those roles is to influence the Constitution. An example of how they do this is gay marriage. Gay marriage in the United States did not pass democratically through the Senate, with people being allowed to vote on it. The way it passed, it was that the Supreme Court interpreted that gay marriage was always permissible in the United States. It's just that people didn't know how to properly interpret the Constitution. For hundreds of years, people were just clueless about the fact that the founding fathers were all big on gay marriage. And the Supreme Court decided that not only is gay marriage allowed, but it would be unconstitutional not to have it. So you can see the fact that the Supreme Court, by interpreting legislation, can bypass the electoral system altogether. And it's not just the Constitution that they have a say in, but all legislation regarding how it's supposed to be interpreted can come through the Supreme Court, and they will have the final say in it. So obviously, the person who appoints judges has great power in shaping America's future for the coming decades. And this is why progressives wanted to put judges that would interpret legislation as well as the Constitution through a progressive lens. While, of course, the Republicans would prefer someone that's conservative. Even though the position is about judges being impartial and it's actually a requirement, in reality, we do know that judges do have their own subjective biases and political opinions on matter. And there is a difference between judges that are appointed by the Democrats and judges that are appointed by the conservatives. And the fact that Donald Trump managed to appoint not one, but two Supreme judges, with a potential third coming up, is making the progressive lose their damn collective minds. Now, I'm not going to focus on the people in the Senate and the discussions because it has been talked to death. What I am going to focus in this video are the activists who try to prevent this, as well as the reaction of people on the Twitter regarding the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh. Firstly, let's look at how they decided to train the troops for this upcoming battle.
Summoned to vote. Let's go watch the vote. In offices that you wish to communicate with. I am going to go to Heidi Heitkamp's office.
Why? She's on our side.
And after the
Cloture. In 30 minutes. Meet me to the left. If you would like to go to an office.
If I could summarize in one sentence the entire voting process for Kavanaugh, it would be, Sergeant of Arms, can you please restore order in the gallery? Which seemed to be like fighting words for the progressives, because every time this phrase was uttered again and again, we would have more activists breaking in and trying to disrupt the voting process.
The Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. The Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. Clerk will suspend. The Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. The Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. Sergeant at Arms has restored order in the galleries.
305 votes. Tim Kaine of the Commonwealth of Virginia has received 227. There'll be order. Sergeant at Arms will remove. Sergeant at Arms will remove. This is from the gallery. In order. The House. The Commonwealth of Virginia has received 227 votes.
Now, I am quite curious as who these two agitators are, because it seems that the only thing they managed to accomplish that day is to embarrass the left, as well as to get over a dozen of young people arrested. In fact, I would go as far as to say that they should serve a sentence for animal abuse, because right now there's probably an army of cats that are being locked away alone in their house with no one to care for them, because all of these ladies have been arrested by the cops. And as more embarrassment to the left, you have the articles that came in the next day. The most brilliant one, in my opinion, is from New York Times. White women, come get your people. They will defend their privilege to the death. And in this article, the author is livid that some women had free choice and decided to vote according to their conscience, which is absolutely abhorrent for feminists, because feminism is all about identity politics. And identity politics is more of this.
Let's go watch the vote. Let's go watch the vote. In offices that you wish to communicate with.
And far less about women thinking for themselves, heaven forbid, or making individual choices. God defend us. Now, in this article, I would just like to point out the phrase that has been used unironically, and I'm not even kidding, they actually use it, gender traitors. Because as you know, every single woman on birth needs to swear allegiance to her gender, because it's her gender that will look out for her, and in exchange she needs to put loyalty, like some form of mafia, I guess. And whenever a woman steps out of line, then she does become a gender traitor, and needs to be publicly shamed in the New York Times. Absolutely brilliant piece of journalism. If I could forward it, I would forward it for the Pulitzer of 2018, because I believe every single woman around planet Earth needs to read this article. It's very important that you do. Please send this article to your mother if you can. Make sure that she reads it. You know, don't even editorialize it. Don't say anything. It's like, Mom, check out this interesting piece. What do you think about it? But let me see if I can pinpoint the ideology accurately. So when a bunch of women are repeating word for word what an elderly white man is telling them, that is feminism, and that is liberating. If a woman asks a question to the man, he refuses to answer and completely ignores her. Because, again, I suppose this is fighting the patriarchy. Meanwhile, if you got a woman who votes according to her own conscience and makes her own decisions, that is working with the patriarchy and being a gender traitor. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that I didn't understood properly from that day? Because something to me doesn't really make sense. It's almost as if
unfortunately, many contemporary discourses in and around feminism tend to emphasize a form of hyper-individualism, which is informed by that neoliberal worldview. More and more, I hear variations on this idea that anything that any woman personally chooses to do is a feminist act. This attitude is often referred to as choice feminism. Choice feminism posits that each individual woman determines what is empowering for herself, which might sound good on the surface, but this concept risks obscuring the bigger picture and larger fundamental goals of the movement by focusing on individual women with a very narrow individual notion of empowerment. It erases the reality that some choices that women make have an enormous negative impact on other women's lives. So it's not enough to feel personally empowered or be personally successful within the oppressive framework of the current system. Even if an individual woman can make patriarchy work for her, it's still a losing game for the rest of the women on the planet. The fact of the matter is that some choices have ramifications beyond ourselves and reinforce harmful patriarchal ideas about women as a group and about women's bodies and our wider shared culture. And because of how systems of oppression intersect and compound one another, it's women of color, indigenous women, women living in the global south, women with disabilities, queer women, and trans women who bear the brunt of these ramifications.
Well, at least the feminist intelligentsia is being honest. So let's summarize. If you are a woman, you have to be a feminist. And if you are a feminist, then you realize you can take many choices in life. However, this is a very difficult process because some of these choices that you can take can harm women of color, queer women, women that have disabilities. And we can't risk having a woman make these damaging choices. It is very difficult for her to think for herself which choices to make. As such, luckily, we have this elderly white man who is going to tell you, as a woman, what you need to think. And in some cases, it can even happen that because you follow his advice, because you do what he tells you to do, you can end up in prison. And your cat can remain home alone with ugly eyes. But it doesn't matter because you are pushing the cause. You are fighting for feminism. So even though you have been nominated to become a martyr for the cause, that's fine. But if you don't follow what this man tells you, if you don't listen to what this man is trying to get you to do, then you are a gender traitor. And I suppose as any traitors, there is only one punishment. Let me know what you thought about this video. Looking forward to reading your comments in the comment section. And I'll probably make another video tomorrow to mine a little bit of the salt from the Twitter, because I don't want this video to remain too long. And I'm really curious about you ladies. Do you still think, after seeing all of this, that feminism is a movement about liberation? Or is feminism a movement that some people with power manage to control and have an army of indoctrinated people do their dirty work for them?